Hey everyone, Chris here, Solutions Architect at IP Fabric. And today we're going to be talking about automation and a little bit of AI. It seems to be what everybody's talking about nowadays. But the reality is, you can't automate what you don't understand. And AI is only as good or as well as the data that you provide it. IP Fabric exists to give you guys context about the data that you need to feed into an AI system or use in your autonomous automations, right? So most automation projects they fail for pretty simple reason, right? I don't have the data that I need to automate. Whether it's a single unified source for information that you're going to use in another automation run book, or whether or not it's just AI and feeding structured information with context into an AI system. IP Fabric was built exactly for that reason right there. All right, so let's talk about automation and how IP Fabric can help out with that initiative, right? What you're looking at here is the dashboard. It's the very first screen you're going to see after you run a snapshot. That's the discovery process for IP Fabric. And what we get on this screen here is a bunch of green, blue, yellow, and red check marks. Think of them as quality control. We call them intent checks at IP Fabric. Now, these intent checks generally speak to a violation of compliance in the infrastructure, and if I scroll down here, we can see we have a very simple one we can talk about. This would be NTP configured sources, right? So here I have 45 devices in my network that do not have NTP configured. I can click on that 45 and I'll get taken to the table that houses that information. All right, so we're on our NTP table and we have the 45 devices here that do not have NTP configured correctly. What I'm going to do is come into this filter option and actually create my own filter to use in an automation playbook or runbook, right? So what I'm going to do here is first get rid of any devices that are part of a cloud construct. So let's get rid of anything that is in AWS. So we're going to get rid of those. And then we want to see only our synchronized sources where the value of synchronized sources is less than or equal to 0, right? If we have it configured and it's working, great. We want to focus on the ones that are having issues. So I'm going to press add rule here. I'm going to go to this synchronized sources column and I'm going to pick ones that are less than or equal to 0 and apply that filter. And here we see our 4 network devices that are either misconfigured or don't have NTP configured at all. Now, with IP Fabric, you get this ability to pull this information right over a very simple API interface. On every single table, not just the NTP table, you'll have that table description button that I just clicked on, and you'll see the filter is applied here, and the API we need to fetch this information is right here as well. So if I wanted to request this data, all I need to do is pass this into a Python script or an Ansible playbook and utilize these 4 elements as a dynamic host to actually run out, configure these elements, update them, and complete my automation, right? Most of the issues that I see when it comes to getting started is having this dynamic inventory of devices to perform automation against. All right. So once you've ran that playbook, we're going to see here again IP Fabric snapshot based tool. I can flip between snapshots, 2 different moments in time. And you can see I have this table filtered down to where the synchronized sources is red. So a device has a configured source, but it's not synchronized, meaning it's not communicating to the NTP source that's configured on this device. As I flip through the snapshots, you can actually see the amount of devices that are in violation that have this intent check red, right? They change over time. So this is closing the automation loop. So after you perform your playbook, your runbook, whatever you want to call it, your automation, actually validating that that automation indeed took and ran successfully, you can actually validate that piece here by seeing the decrease in the overall amount of red in this intent check. And same goes for all the rest of the intent checks, the 150 built into the platform today. So as things change, so if I flip through the snapshots here, you're going to see these values, these red values change. This is closing the automation loop for whatever playbook or runbook that you're running, and actually gives you a validation piece. And that is traditionally missing today in most network infrastructures. Most people run automations, they don't have a way to validate that it actually ran. And IP Fabric provides that validation piece automatically right out the box, right? All right, moving on to AI. When it comes to AI, it's a pretty big word that we hear all throughout the industry today. Over the past few years, AI has been brought to our attention, brought to everybody's interface every day. And if you're not using AI every day, it's pretty amazing how much it's infiltrated the infrastructure or the organizations today, right? IP Fabric gives AI this context that most other systems are not able to give, right? Again, IP Fabric is a snapshot based tool. So I have two different moments in time here, and that allows AI to have context to how the network was configured at specific time intervals, right? As things change, we simply want to ask, our data what has changed over time. So if I go over here to the technology routing routes table, there's a lot of data in this table that if a human had to go through manually or even write code to autonomously go through this data, it requires a specific knowledge in order to even understand what data points you have access to and what the deltas of those data points even represent in the network. So being able to speed that process up by talking in human text, right, in human format to a chatbot and just asking what has changed over time is the goal we're trying to achieve here, right, when it comes to AI. Feeding data points that actually have context is critical here, right? So I have a chatbot here communicating with IP Fabric, and it knows about the different points in time or the snapshots that it has access to, right? I asked it basically, what snapshots do you know about? And it spit out, it knows that this snapshot here represents the sixth, this snapshot here represents the fifth. And if we go back to our UI here, we can actually see those four snapshots loaded as well. Now, if I ask it what has changed between route tables, we can actually, communicate that to this chatbot in a very human friendly text, right? So tell me about the route table and what has changed between these two snapshots. So we're going to tell it, tell me the delta between this snapshot here, right? And maybe this snapshot here. So we're going to ask the chatbot, pretty simple question, what changed between those 2 days? We're going to see our question pop up here. The AI is now thinking. And if we look at the back end, we can see it actually sending a bunch of requests over to IP Fabric. And it's doing its thing. It's going to take some time. It's a lot of data that it's got to process through and understand. And eventually, we'll be given a pretty good summary of what's changed between those two specific snapshots or those two moments in time. I think this is critical going forward in terms of utilizing an AI interface to understand the vast amounts of data that's available inside of IP Fabric. So we can actually see some data points really haven't changed much. You have maybe 400 added routes between these two snapshots. We have some info about what VRFs were deployed between these two snapshots. And we can actually see some modified routes, for example, here as well. So when it comes to AI, the most important thing is providing it context about specific moments in time so you can ask these simple questions. All right. So in this video here, we talked about AI, automation, how important it is to feed context driven insights into your automation, into your AI. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to your IP fabric solutions architect, your partner manager, your account manager, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.